What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with the overall market and why next week we could see a very, very big squeeze in the markets. I'm going to talk about how this could affect NIO and the big data that's coming out. But before I break anything down, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 6 free stocks. Put in $500 and you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. Put in $25,000 or more and you're guaranteed 70 free stocks, plus 12 months of level 2 data. Now, with that being said, guys, the offer ends in 10 days. Check it out before they run out. Looking at NIO, this thing got a nice little push to the upside to 8.28, showing signs of a change in market structure, and it came back down. As long as NIO ends up establishing a high, or I'm sorry, a low that's above this low right here at like $7, as long as it bases at like 7.25 or so, we could be starting an uptrend and NIO could be starting to make higher highs and higher lows. Now we need to see NIO basically come back and try to bounce. We have a catalyst that can help it going into Tuesday, and that's going to be CPI. CPI is going to be coming out. This is going to be very, very important. And when we look at CPI, I just want to mention that uh, right now the forecast, the consensus is at 3.1%. Looking at the last CPIs, everything has been aligned with expectations. If you look at the previous data, there's been a big downtrend in core and CPI. Core is a bit more sticky, but CPI is still looking a lot better than before. So that being said, there's a good chance we're going to see CPI at 3%, very close to the expectation. Even below that would be really, really bullish. The market may get a very bullish reaction. Part of why I say that is because if you excuse me, if you look at gas prices in the US, they've declined quite a bit in November. This is a good piece of news. This also increases the odds of the Fed once again pausing, which they're going to most likely do. There's a 98% chance of that happening. And we're seeing the fear and greed index still not even at extremes. So as crazy as this sounds, there is still room for the market to rally. As far as NIO goes, NIO on November 30th, they opened their 7th and 8th PSS in Sweden, located in two different areas. And that's very, very good news for them. With these power swap stations, this is just very, very helpful for their company. It's going to help increase their brand, and let's hope they gain more and more exposure in Europe. And then we had 42 million in volume, very low volume. But here's what I'm seeing on the charts. So SPY closed above 460. That is bullish because this thing was basically stuck between 453 and 455 as support, and we also had this like 460 to 458 zone as our resistance. We've been going back and forth and back and forth, and we finally got a break above 460. So by breaking above 460, SPY is looking like it's in a really, really good state. If we keep going, our next target is going to be 462. And I think that SPY definitely has the potential to do so and reach that target. So with that being said, SPY looks bullish. If we do cool off a little bit, I think that CPI is going to launch this up. Once we break 462, we're going to be pushing up for like 467. I basically see us pushing all the way up there, and I think this is going to drag the market up. I also want to add that for Tesla, whoopsies, we have Tesla. Looks very bullish to me because I was mentioning these tests of the yellow trend line of support. You guys see the yellow trend line? We've been holding it over and over and over again. And Tesla's once again respecting a nice uptrend right over here. We have this blue resistance trend line that's coming up. I think that Tesla's going to eventually test this and try to break out towards 250. Now, I think it's going to get very tight on Monday, but once CPI comes out, we're going to see a breakout. I think that that's going to help Tesla. On something else, such as like Apple, I'm just going to go over a couple of others real quick. We're also looking kind of bullish. I could see it pushing up for about 197, so a little bit more, but we'll see how it reacts to that after CPI. But I could see a little bit more upside, but we'll see how it reacts to that as we have some tight resistance up there. On the QQQ, we look bullish as well. I think it's going to be approaching 400 plus soon. It's continuing to uptrend. Look for a break of this 394 resistance, and I think that 400 is going to be our next target. There's a good chance it's going to reach that. And last but not least, I just want to call out NIO. How is NIO looking? If you look at the charts on NIO, right, I just want to mention that, let me just close this right up right here. NIO had this big rally to the upside, came back down, giving up a large part of that rally. But when you look at the chart like this, it's still trying to base at a higher level and try to like bounce from here. So we're going to be watching to see if NIO can make its way back up, and we're going to be watching these trend lines as our key levels. For the time being, I would say that Looking at the charts, NIO, in my opinion, it has the potential to come down a little lower and then try to bounce right here. We're going to be looking at this key zone right over here as this key supports, like right about here. I think that as long as we establish the support right about here, near where this wick is, 7.25 or so, there's a good chance it's going to make an attempt to bounce. And then once it bounces, we're going to see NIO try to make its way back up. So with that being said, we have this imbalance over here, which makes me think 7.8 is going to be coming. And then when you look at the chart, it's very interesting what's going on here. So NIO is trying to base. You could see that this thing has been trying to base over the last couple of months. We have this support, this entire zone of support right here between 7 and 7.25. And every time we touch it, we just try to bounce. So I'm thinking, excuse me, sorry guys, I apologize about that. NIO also has a potential accumulation structure right over here that's developing. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is this. I think that when you look at a lot of small caps and mid caps, they are due for some kind of bounce. I think that soon we're going to see this happen to NIO. It could take like another week or so, but I think that we could be on the path to do so. I'm not going to use an Elliott wave actually when doing this. I could just like kind of draw out a path. So what could happen is going into NIO day for December, I wouldn't be surprised if NIO tries to push up just like this, make its way back up to $8 plus or even above this to try to fill these imbalances. I think the market may help NIO try to push up back to these high levels. Now, if this ends up being an accumulation, we could actually get another pullback going into like the early 2024s because of the recession people are talking about and etc. But I still think that NIO is going to break out later into the year and start outperforming the market even more. And then I think it's going to eventually start making its way up to these much higher levels as time goes on. We have these imbalances up here. We're going to get a really, really nice push. Now, it is possible for NIO to break out much sooner, much sooner, and start breaking out because of the fact that we have NIO Day and there could be some big announcements. But I find a move like this very probable for the next few months, a really nice uptrend, a nice bounce like this. And we've seen what NIO could do in these very short periods of time. You could see how these accumulations kind of like play out. So like if you go back here, it's very simple, very simple. Notice how it forms cups. It loves to form cups. It comes down like this. They accumulate shares. They push it back up. Okay. It came down like this. They accumulate shares. They push it back up. Came down like this. They're accumulating shares like in this entire range for just a couple of months before they pushed it right back up. And the same thing is happening right here. They're accumulating these shares and they might just push it up very soon. So what I'm seeing for NIO is, it could happen like much sooner. I don't know if we're going to break out as soon as like this year. It could happen very early into next year where we just start to see the accumulation play out and this thing just starts to uptrend very nicely. So we might see it slowly make its way up, cool off a bit, and just start pushing up once again as we have this accumulation that is developing. Now we have these gaps to fill near these imbalances. So that's what I'm seeing for NIO. We could make it a very nice move to the upside as soon as December starts, make our way back to the 8s or even higher. This could also play out like much sooner. So if the accumulation is done, it's possible that NIO just breaks out, like going into NIO Day. We make our way back up to like $9. We come back a little bit into 2024 as we start. And then we get this breakout like much into like January. We get a very bullish breakout. That's also another possibility. It could happen like just next month. It depends on NIO Day and what kind of move we make. So maybe we start the move on NIO Day, we come down a little bit, then we just continue to push, just hypothetically. But ultimately, what I'm trying to tell you guys is that there's an accumulation down here. Institutions are buying down here because they're going to launch NIO up eventually. It may take another week. It could take a couple of weeks. I don't know the exact timing of it, but I do believe that the catalyst that could help NIO start pushing up is going to be CPI alongside the whole market. So we're going to be watching that very carefully. But this is just an example. I was actually using these levels like up here. So you have this like $8 level right here. I was trying to like aim for that when I was drawing out like the inverse head and shoulders. We also have this like supply zone up here. I could really see NIO making attempts to get back up. So it's forming these cups very nicely, and there's definitely potential for it moving forward. All right, guys. So with that being said, I'm bullish on NIO overall. For next week specifically, we could see NIO balance and try to push back up closer to $8, above $8, thanks to CPI. And I think that there's going to be a good chance of a market squeeze next week. All right, so that's what I have for this one. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.